Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into some hot geopolitical takes, specifically Shashi Tharoor's stand on Trump's tariffs on India and how it intersects with a 200-year colonial past.
Right, his remark that after 200 years of colonialism, India won't be dictated to, huh? That's a bold declaration.
Exactly. It's like he's saying that the era of being controlled or pushed around is definitively
Yep.
over. He's more than just addressing tariffs, it's a statement of national pride and strategic independence.
And it also opens the floor to discuss, India's position on the global diplomatic chessboard, where past colonial legacies still have echoes today.
Sure, yeah. Tharoor, who's a seasoned MP and foreign affairs expert, really brings out how these tariffs aren't just economic moves. They're deeply interwoven with historical and geopolitical narratives. It's
Right.
almost like he's drawing a line in the sand.
And he's not alone. There's been a lot of chatter about the ripple effects on India's relationships with not just the US, but also countries like China, Russia, and even Pakistan.
Absolutely. Take, for example, the ongoing high stakes meetings between Modi, Xi Jinping, and Putin. Tharoor hints that, well, these interactions underline a kind of strategic rebalancing. It's, a classic tale of shifting alliances.
So, do you think it really is a response to tariffs or part of a bigger maneuver in global diplomacy?
I'd say it's both. On one hand, Trump's tariffs exemplify economic coercion, and on the other, they've pushed India to assert a stronger, independent stance. It's like a catalyst for rethinking
Yeah.
alliances.
That's interesting. But isn't there a risk that such a strong stand might further complicate India US relations down the line?
That's a good point. I mean, the rhetoric is fiery, and while it's filled with assertiveness, it might also create
Uh huh.
friction. However, Tharoor seems to argue that, given the historical context, India is no longer willing to succumb to such external pressures.
I guess it's a matter of weighing tradition against current global pressures. Does it not evoke a sense of finality on colonial era dynamics?
Exactly. And it's almost like he's saying that legacy colonialism is history. India's future is in its own hands. I mean, that's a powerful metaphor for any nation controlled for centuries.
Right? And considering the discussions around tariffs, it's not just about economic measures. It signals a broader assertion of sovereignty.
Yes, and to add, the conversation delves into how the tariffs are being perceived not merely as trade measures but as symbols of attempts at
Yeah, I
domination.
get that.
It essentially becomes a litmus test for diplomatic independence.
Now, I find it fascinating how this discourse isn't isolated to just economics. It branches into broader themes of national dignity and self-reliance.
Right on. Think of it as a narrative of reclaiming identity. After centuries of being on the receiving end of dictates stemming from colonial rule, India's message is loud. We define our own destiny, tariffs or not.
Yet, some might argue that such a stance could potentially complicate relationships with major powers, especially if it's perceived as too uncompromising.
That's a fair critique. I mean, there's always a balancing act. While India is asserting its independence, it also needs to navigate a web of alliances. It's
Yep,
not
that's
just
true.
about drawing a hard line, but about diplomatically engaging with multiple global players.
And speaking of multiple players, the conversation also touches on India's interactions with Pakistan. What's your take there?
Well, Tharoor does bring up the point that the regional dynamics, particularly between India and Pakistan, are also shifting. It's like he's implying that India's newfound assertiveness might actually recalibrate these bilateral relationships. It's a
Right.
domino effect, where one bold move gives leverage in other areas.
So, it's almost multi-layered. All these relationships from the US to Pakistan get entangled in these strategic recalibrations.
Precisely. And what's compelling is how these tariffs become a prism, splitting into various shades of political machinations. They're not unilateral, they trigger a cascade of responses throughout global diplomacy.
And let's not forget, economic policies like tariffs often serve as proxies for larger ideological battles. Isn't that right?
Exactly. It's like an economic chess match where every move is loaded with historical context, national pride, and strategic defiance.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to ask though, when you look at Tharoor's approach, isn't there a risk of oversimplifying the complexity of global alliances?
That's a valid challenge. While his rhetoric is stirring and vivid, the reality is the global stage is more nuanced. It might be a
I
bit
see
of
your
a
point.
dramatic rallying cry rather than a comprehensive policy blueprint.
Right, sometimes political commentary risks reducing multifaceted issues to a single, if striking, narrative punch.
True, and while it's important to capture the spirit of independence, one could argue that the long term ramifications require a more intricate, diplomatic strategy behind the bold statements.
Yeah, that makes sense. It all boils down to balancing pride with pragmatism, right?
Exactly. It's like walking a tightrope. On one side, you have a clear, assertive message, and on the other, the delicate, often messy reality of international relations.
Uh huh. And then there's the element of timing. With the shifting sands of global politics, every policy move, every tariff, has a ripple effect that's difficult to predict.
Absolutely. And Tharoor's comments, while direct, also serve as a reminder of historical resilience. It brings home the idea that nations can reinvent their narrative after centuries of external control.
Yep. It's a potent mix of memory and forward thinking strategy. I like that interplay.
Right? And it reinforces the need for leaders like Modi to, navigate these turbulent waters with both strength and subtlety.
Exactly. Speaking of Modi, how do you see his role evolving given these diplomatic challenges?
Well, Modi is now facing a triple challenge managing relations with the US, balancing dynamics with China and Russia, and also dealing with regional issues with Pakistan. It's like orchestrating a symphony under pressure.
Right.
Every note matters in the grand performance of diplomacy.
That's a vivid analogy. And it also underscores how these tariff decisions and geopolitical critiques are not in isolation. They are interwoven into a much larger strategic tapestry.
Exactly. Each policy shift prompts a reconfiguration on multiple fronts. From economic narratives to historical reckonings, it's like every move signals a new chapter in global power dynamics.
And that's why conversations like these are so captivating. They show us that something as specific as tariffs can have far reaching implications.
Indeed, and it also brings to light the importance of understanding history in shaping modern policy. Tharoor's perspective, blending past injustices with present challenges, really adds depth to the discussion.
Right, absolutely. So, to wrap things up, would you say that his stance is more of a rallying call for sovereignty or a calculated diplomatic signal?
I'd argue it's a blend of both. It's a rallying cry that energizes national pride and, at the same time, sends a clear message to global powers. India is no longer a reluctant player. It's a strategic
exactly.
assertion of agency.
A fascinating insight indeed. It leaves us pondering how historical narratives continue to shape contemporary geopolitical strategies.
Right, and as these global dynamics unfold, we'll be watching keenly to see how India navigates the maze of diplomacy, legacy, and economic power plays.
Yep, absolutely.